During a routine rescue operation following a boat accident off the coast, the team noticed an enormous shadow lurking beneath the waves near the wreckage. Initially, they assumed it was a common marine animal, attracted by the commotion. However, as they maneuvered closer to secure the area and provide aid to the survivors, the silhouette became clearer, revealing its massive size and unfamiliar shape. Before we start, smash the like button and make sure to subscribe if you haven't, and hit that notification bell so that you won't miss any new stories. The moment the creature emerged from the depths, the rescuers' initial alarm turned to sheer disbelief, their faces going pale at the sight. "Holy shit, I can't believe this!" Captain Jim muttered in disbelief. He stood with his radio in hand, his eyes fixed on the water, frozen in place while the creature slowly floated past them. "Are we going to catch it?" one of the men asked, a little unsure. But that creature was way too big for their nets. "We're going to need another rescue team," Captain Jim said through the radio. The operator on the other end of the line confusedly asked him why, but Jim had no idea how to explain it. Suddenly, a loud scream was heard from one of the other rescue teams, and they saw a boat flipping over. "Quick, get those men out of the icy water," Captain Jim ordered as he steered his boat toward them. His men hurried to the edge of the boat and extended their hands to pull the other men out of the water. "Hunter, here!" he yelled as he threw 3 heating blankets at him. The men were saved, but the creature totally destroyed their boat. All of the rescue workers got the hell out of there after saving the people from the boat accident, hoping no more people would get hurt. As they sailed away, no one took their eyes off the creature, who dove down into the depths again. Back at shore, everyone spoke of the unbelievable thing they had seen. Everyone knew this was a once-in-a-lifetime experience, but for Captain Jim, it was something way more. Unbeknownst to the others, he had seen the creature before as a little boy when it attacked the boat he was on with his parents. Luckily, no one got hurt back then, but he never forgot about that day. Back then, no one had believed their story. Some people even began to make fun of his family for being attention seekers. He had vowed to find the creature again and prove his family right, and now, after all those years, he finally got the chance to do so. He had no idea what it was yet, but he wasn't scared to find out. As a professional rescue worker, Captain Jim had his fair share of diving experience. It was far from enough to dive into the depths of the creature, but with today's technology, it was now or never. He couldn't do this on his own, though. He needed a team of divers and at least one submarine that could house them all. "I can't believe that creature destroyed my yacht like that," someone suddenly said, waking Captain Jim from his thoughts. It was the owner he had saved from the boat accident. Captain Jim shook the man's hand, and before he knew it, the man had invited him to his house for a drink. "It's the least I can do for the man that saved my life," Helisai. Like a miracle, the man in question was actually the owner of a big diving company, and so happened to be very interested in finding the creature that had destroyed his yacht. After one drink, Jim's plan started to take form. All he had to do now was find himself a team of men who weren't scared of the ocean's depths. Within a week, everything was set in place for the big operation. Jim had a team of 4 men, including the captain, who came with the submarine. Dean, Francis, and Connor had all been present at the rescue mission, so they knew what they were going after. The submarine's captain, Usen, however, had no idea what the creature looked like. As the submarine sunk into the water, the men tried to explain what they had seen that faithful day, but as Jim had expected, Usen didn't believe a single word they said. "Just wait and see," Francis chuckled as he shook his head. "There's no way around that monster," he added. Sadly, none of these men knew what they were getting themselves into. The ocean's depths were dark and claustrophobic. Only the submarine's light cut through the darkness as they sailed to the exact spot where they had last seen the creature go under. During the first few days, spirits were high, but as days passed without a sign of the creature, the cramped space got to everyone. Patience was running thin, especially for Usen, who now openly questioned the mission's viability. "We should head back," Jim wasn't about to give up, not when he was this close. For him, this hunt was more than just about proving a point. It was for his family, for the years of mockery they endured. He rallied the crew, reminding them of the importance of their mission. "We're here to make history," he said, his determination infectious. The crew felt it, a renewed sense of purpose lighting their faces. The calm of their mission was shattered by the sudden blare of an alarm. Panic swept through the submarine as the crew scrambled to check the systems. It took them a moment, but they found the culprit. The oxygen levels were dropping dangerously low. Houston took control, his voice cutting through the chaos. "We need to surface now," he declared. Jim backed him up, knowing well that their lives took precedence. "Do it!" The moment they opened the hatch, a wave of sunlight hit them. For the first time in weeks, they felt the warm embrace of the sun, filling them with a mix of relief and joy. An hour later, they were ready. The submarine, now filled with fresh air and renewed spirits, began its descent back into the depths. As they dove deeper, Houston started making odd noises, his brow furrowed in confusion. He glanced at the screens, then back at the crew, biting his lip. The rest of the crew noticed his hesitation but decided to give him space, trusting his judgment. The unknown was a formidable foe, and not knowing what Houston saw on the sonar made Jim's skin crawl. The need for transparency was never more apparent. "What's that?" Connor suddenly exclaimed, pointing to the sonar. A large blip, unlike anything they had seen before, was making its way towards them. The crew gathered around, eyes wide with anticipation. This could be it, the moment they had all been waiting for. Houston's calm amidst the crew's curiosity finally broke. He admitted he'd been hesitant to share his suspicions without certainty. "What we're looking at," he announced as the object came into full view, "is an old military submarine wreckage." Jim and Francis didn't waste a moment. Suited up, they plunged into the dark waters, the beam from their lights slicing through the murky depths. Their goal was clear: explore the wreckage, uncover what secrets it might hold. Through their microphones, Jim and Francis narrated their descent. "The hull's ripped open here!" Jim's voice crackled through, like something massive tore through it. Their descriptions painted a vivid picture for those aboard the submarine, hanging on every word. Despite their eagerness to explore inside, the damage was too extensive. "It's impossible to get in," Francis reported, his disappointment evident. Algae and coral clung to its sides, a testament to its long tenure on the ocean floor. "Looks like it's been here forever." Suddenly, Houston's voice, laced with urgency, broke through the calm. "You need to return now," he commanded. Jim hesitated, glancing around in search of Francis. What could have made Houston sound so alarmed? Jim's heart raced as he looked for Francis, but there was no sign of him. Houston's voice came through again, more insistent this time, but Jim couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. Where had Francis gone? As Jim began swimming toward the submarine, a movement caught his eye. Turning, he saw Francis not far off, seemingly frozen in place. And then he saw why. A massive shark circled him, its size dwarfing Francis. He knew he had to act fast to save his teammate from the looming threat. But before he could act, the shark, as if sensing a greater threat, quickly disappeared into the dark waters, leaving Jim and Francis in stunned silence. With the shark gone, Jim reached out to Francis, who remained paralyzed with fear. Jim's focus was on calming Francis, but the look of utter terror in his eyes was directed past Jim, towards something unseen. Slowly, Jim rotated to face whatever had caught Francis's gaze. There, looming close to the submarine, was the colossal figure of the creature they had been searching for. Through their microphones, Jim and Francis exchanged hurried whispers. "What do we do now?" Francis's voice trembled slightly. With their oxygen levels dwindling, they faced a dire choice: stay and potentially capture proof of the creature's existence, or heed Houston's warnings and make their way back to the submarine. After a tense discussion, reality set in. They couldn't risk their lives on dwindling oxygen and the unpredictable behavior of the creature. "We have to go back," Jim said finally, his voice steady but filled with disappointment. Francis nodded in agreement, casting one last glance at the magnificent beast before they both turned to swim towards the submarine. As they shed their diving suits, the sight that greeted them was surreal. Two military officers were in the process of handcuffing Houston, Connor, and Dean. Before they could even process the scene fully, two more officers appeared behind Jim and Francis, handcuffing them without a word. Jim's attempts to explain the situation, to tell them about the massive creature they had just encountered, were met with indifference. The indifference of the military officers was astounding. Outside, the massive creature circled both submarines, now attached to each other, an impossible sight to ignore. Yet, the officers showed no interest in it, focusing solely on securing every member of the crew. It was as if the existence of the creature, so significant to Jim and his team, was of no consequence to their mysterious captors. Despite their situation, Jim couldn't help but glance through the submarine's porthole, catching sight of the creature one last time as it glided through the water. The military's lack of reaction to it hinted at a larger, more complex scenario than they could understand. The military officers led Jim and his crew through the tight corridors of the military submarine. They were pushed into a small, dimly lit cell, the door locking behind them with a definitive clang. Amidst their confusion, a sudden shout pierced the silence. "We got it!" echoed through the submarine, followed by the sound of hurried movement. Jim's thoughts immediately raced back to the creature. The military's previous indifference vanished in an instant, replaced by a flurry of activity. The submarine shuddered violently, the walls groaning under some unseen pressure. Fear gripped Jim and his crew as they exchanged anxious glances, wondering if the creature had found them, intent on revenge. After what felt like an eternity in the dark, Jim and his crew were finally led out of their cell and off the military submarine. Blinking against the sunlight, the crew found themselves on a vast platform in the middle of the sea, surrounded by military personnel. They were ushered into a small, sterile room on the platform, where a man in a military uniform awaited. Without a preamble, he presented them with a stack of documents. "You need to sign these NDAs before we can proceed," he stated firmly. The implication was clear. Their return to normalcy hinged on their compliance. Reluctantly, each man signed the NDA, the weight of their signatures sealing their fate to silence. Once the documents were collected, the military officer finally spoke, revealing the truth that tethered them to this clandestine meeting. "The creature you encountered is part of a top-secret genetic engineering project that escaped from an underwater facility." The revelation was as shocking as it was unbelievable, yet it explained the military's intense interest in their mission. The crew sat in stunned silence, processing the officer's words. The creature that had both terrified and fascinated them was man-made. Its existence, no natural mystery but a product of human ambition gone awry. The memory of their ordeal lingered as a silent acknowledgement of the journey they had shared and the incredible truth only they knew but could never speak of. For Jim, the journey was bittersweet. The knowledge of the creature's existence, coupled with the inability to share it with the world, weighed heavily on him. They never reconvened, each choosing solitude over the painful reminders of what they had experienced together. The adventure's conclusion propelled Jim into a new direction. Resigning from his role as a captain, he pursued a career as a professional diver. The creature, a testament to human curiosity and its consequences, vanished as suddenly as it had appeared. Whether it was recaptured by the military or met another fate remained a mystery, one that would linger in the minds of Jim and his crew. The sea's depths held their secrets well, and for those who had come so close to one of its greatest enigmas, the unanswered questions were a silent, constant companion in their lives.